All right, this will be video 2 on Polaris Sportsman 450. We're going to pick up where we left off from the last video, video 1. We spent the majority of that video actually trying to restore, and successfully so far, the original Mikuni carb to replace that aftermarket junk that's from Amazon or whatever, or eBay, or wherever we got it from. We're going to pick it up from the point where we are working on the slide diaphragm, because I made a design change on that, which I'll show you in a second. Normally I'm very happy dealing with pokies, and you can see that that's done through some pokies, and unfortunately the little pokey broke. In this case I wasn't too happy with the plastic variety that stuck through here, and I melted the ends like it was originally set up and designed. So I took it back apart off camera, and it turns out that those holes that those pokies went through were set up. They're essentially the drill size for an M4 fastener. So I just tapped them out real quick and then put some nice stainless cap screws right through. They're not too deep, so they're not going to hit the jet block. And I think that's going to hold it a lot better. And of course, they're red Loctite. There's no way for those screws to get inside the car body and into the motor anyway. Those are not going nowhere. I like that a lot better. So we'll set this guy aside because I'm still waiting on parts for that. But what we're going to do in this part 2 right now is, besides oogle this beauty, is I've already went through just as a test. And in this case, I cleaned that aftermarket carb. It's all set up to go. I've got it back installed, obviously, and then all the air boxes installed. I'm going to set you up. Let's go ahead and put an external fuel supply, diagnose any other problems. Aside from the fact that we do have a fuel delivery problem on the existing tank and that vacuum fuel pump and maybe petcock side. We isolate that, get an idea how it runs with the aftermarket carb, and then when we put the original Mikuni that we refurbished back on, we'll see how it runs with that. The float valve from that original aftermarket junk carb, well, that sucker wasn't very good. I replaced it with just a used one I had. I tested it upside down, and it's sealing off real well. But you never know with these things. I did set the float height to 13 mils, what I found online. I don't have anything extraneous else hooked up to this carburetor. I just got the basics. What in the hell is going on? This is why I hate these aftermarkets. This thing is overflowing everywhere. And I tested that thing upside down. Whosever idea it was to change that fuel valve out is an idiot, because I put the original one back in, and even though it looks like crap, it holds. The one I put in, I mean the one the guy put in that didn't work, that other guy, that one looked better and it looked exactly the same. So I don't know, but it's holding fuel now. That's why I hate these aftermarket carbs. And besides, the float seat in this one is pressed in. The original, as you recall, has a removable float seat with an O-ring seal. Oh, who knows? I was thinking maybe it was leaking around that, but that's not the case. Sure, all dried off here from all this fuel that came out. All right, I'm going to try her again. Remember, it has a dead battery, just like everything else I ever work on. For some reason, folks can't keep their batteries up. Well, keeping it up is a challenge, I will admit that, but let me hook up my jumper pack. Give it a little bit of little blue pill in electron form. Ha! That's a good sign. That's no enricher, no nothing. Won't take any throttle. And I know that slow circuit's clear. Let's give it a little enricher. Yeah, she won't take any throttle, and I went through this carburetor. I know the slow circuit and everything is clean. Yeah. Okay, so what does it tell us? Now, I could have missed something. I really did a quick clean on this, but it did go through the ultrasonic, and I did blow everything out. But there is no jet numbers on the slow jet, which I did take out and clean to make sure it was open. And I have no idea what the jetting is. It looks awfully small as far as that little hole in there. In our case, we're just gonna get that Mikuni going, because otherwise, if we just had this to work with, I'd have to start screwing with jetting. And you know what? In the time and the labor it would take and cost to get that one up to the point where it would run good, we could just fix the Mikuni down there as where we've already started to do anyway. And that was a lot of fun. And then we'll get it running right here. So the same plan applies. Verify the motor's good, verify it runs, know the carb sucks. Now we got to deal with the fuel from the fuel cock. I'm not going to film any of that. I will report to you what my findings are as to why we're not getting any fuel out to that vacuum fuel pump. You may think that my future's so bright, I gotta wear shades, but actually I had my eyes dilated this morning at the eye doctor because I needed to get that YAG laser procedure on my left eye because of a secondary cataract issue. I had those done, cataract surgery, about 2 years ago, and it's starting to become a problem in my daily life. It's actually affecting both eyes, but the left eye is worse. But I wanted to tell you that in this next section is gonna be voiceover, and it's going to be clips of me taking that throttle shaft out because I'm not entirely happy with it. It's still pretty binded up or bound up. And the actual brass throttle valve itself is kind of chewed up on the bottom, almost like corroded. And I'll show you the solution we're going to use for that. After that, we're going to be in a little pause as we wait for that kit to come in. Once that kit comes in off camera, I will rebuild that carburetor. We'll pick the video up when we put that Mikuni in. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a really good result from it, and I'll show you that result at that time. First thing we got to do is pry that cap off the end of the throttle shaft, which is just held down with friction, so it comes right off pretty easily. A lot of junk underneath there too, a lot of goo and crud. So after that end cap, we're going to go ahead and tappy tap tap on the screws that hold the butterfly to the shaft. If you watch the Valkyrie video, did the same thing on those Valkyrie carbs. Get those kind of shocked loose, and that helps a whole lot getting these out. Little heat always helps in this situation, so we're going to heat them one at a time so we can try to get them broken loose. Then using the JIS bit and my snap-on ratchet screwdriver, go ahead and just break these guys loose, take them right out. I have the throttle shaft locked in the open position so I can just get that butterfly valve out. It's because the spring is still engaged. Once we pull that shaft out, the spring will come with it. That C-clip comes out pretty easily. And right behind the C-clip there's a plastic washer. It's kind of just something to keep the C-clip from rubbing against that seal and the aluminum of the carburetor, I'm assuming. I'll show you that up close here in a second. It's pretty trash, and I do replace it with something on hand. But, you know, it's just one of these things where if you have a piece of plastic or a washer, you can even make one if you had to. Here's that plastic washer. We'll just pick it right up off after we cleared it with all the junk around it. And right behind that, you can see that there is a rubber seal on the throttle shaft itself. There's one on both sides. Now it's just a matter of pulling the shaft out and pulling the spring with it, kind of releasing the tension on the spring as we go. Comes out fairly easily, but there is a bunch of crud in there on the shaft and in the bores. But it looks good overall, and we definitely can reuse this stuff and clean it up. Here's the issue with the butterfly valve itself. The bottom edge of it is all corroded, and it's kind of tapered back. It's not a square edge, so to speak. So it's not going to contact the bottom of the bore. That's the bottom side that goes on the lower end of the bore, near where those transition holes are and the pilot screw holes. So this is no good. All right, this still shot of the Mikuni carb with a replacement butterfly, which obviously came out of the aftermarket carb, because where else would I get one? And that turned out to be exactly the same size, exactly the same diameter thickness. I even used the screws out of it, so hey, why not use it? All right, folks, many days later, I got that carb kit in. I'll talk about that a little bit. The purpose of this clip is to show you how I stake these screws on the back side of these butterflies when you have to take them out. So there's your front and there's your back side. I'm going to show you how I set this up so you can do a classic reach around from the rear, which I always like doing, and support those screws individually and then give them a couple of tappy tap taps with some sort of a sharp object to spread them out. If you look inside there, you can see the screws. These are, by the way, the screws out of the Amazon/eBay carb, so they're technically new screws. These were not staked or Loctited. They came right out without any trouble whatsoever. So if you're going to use one of these carbs, you might want to take a look at those, because you put this carb on and one of them screws loosens up and falls out in your motor. Bob is definitely not your uncle at that point. Keep that in mind, because I didn't realize that till I took them out. I said, holy shit, these aren't staked or Loctited or nothing. So I've told you what we're going to do. Let me show you how we're going to do it. The first thing we're going to need to do, you're going to need to do if you're going to do this, is take something like, you can use one of these if you want. It has to be long enough to go inside a vise and sit down on the main body of the vise, so it's something really secure. Then you clamp it in place so it can't move. You know, whatever this part of the vise is that goes in and out, I can't remember. You can use one of these standard number 2s if you want. I have a JIS bit inside an extension. This is not the extension I typically use, but I can't find that one, so I guess we're going to use this one. It gives you a solid base. So when you put these screws down on top of it like this, and you kind of feel it, make sure they're square, then you got to kind of do a little bit of a dance with your hands here. Kind of, you know, you need 3 hands really to do it. And then you reach in there with a sharp tool. In this case, we're going to use this one. Get right in the center of those screws and start wrapping them. It's tappy tap tap, which essentially spreads them out a little bit. You don't need to do it much, and then they'll be staked in place. I can't really show you in great detail because of the light and the conditions, but I will try my best. The hardest part is aligning the screw up onto this little bit that you got in there that you can't, and you're not looking down at it like you normally do. How you can tell it's in is it feels like it wants to turn the screw. In other words, you can feel that bit settling in the center of the screw. It's imperative that this is right. Now that butterfly is at an angle about like this. So that means that the butterfly trunnion that screws through is likewise at that angle. So your carburetor is not going to necessarily be straight up and down like this. It'll be matching. You have to match that angle of that screw head. So you can kind of feel it when that happens, when you match the screw head. And you've got to be on the screw where you're not partially cammed out one way or the other. Then all we do is we come in here like this, and we carefully get it as centered as we can, and you kind of hold everything in that place, and then we start beating on it. As much as you can without sliding off, kind of like I just did. All right, so we pretty much got that one with a couple of edges that are peened out. Now I'm going to come back in here now with a flat one. And I'm going to go with a flat one and kind of flatten it out as well. You can do that as well, but I kind of like to stake it with the pointy one first. All right, I'm going to take this Starrett drift, try to get it centered up again. It's fiddly. It's real fiddly to do, but you got to kind of check as you go that make sure that you're straight on everything. And then keep rechecking. And you can see that that one is pretty well smushed now. Now, if you got any pieces of that metal that wants to break off, just reach in there with a pair of pliers and kind of twist them off. Sometimes that does happen, but you can see that that's pretty well smushed. Now, the other one we can try just with the drift and see what it does, but usually I have better luck with a pointed object, but I'm not really too sure about these, being that they're cheap Chinese screws. We'll try that on the other one. That actually works pretty good. I might just do it that way though every time I do this, which is going to be fine. All you want to do is just stake them in so they don't come out. And there we go. All right, that one on the left I actually redid, and I got off the side of it a little bit, and it actually it kind of smushed down the side of the screw, but that's all. I'm not going to do any more on it. I don't want to take a chance of damaging anything, you know, to where the trunnion's bent or something. It's imperative that you have something that doesn't move. This is not the bit that I normally use. Like I said, I just can't find that one. I don't know where it went. But I got these good and smushed now. They're definitely not going to come out, and there's no problem with this. It works just fine. So we're going to, you know, a little scratch there or something because it bounced off once or twice. It's not going to hurt nothing. It's better than having the screw come loose while the engine's running. So there's no chance of those screws coming out under any circumstances. And there's no loose pieces hanging off them either. So I guess the best way to do it probably would be with a flat drift. We're all happy here. I adjusted the needle down one click on the E-clip, one step. That is definitely sealing off up in here as it did before. So now I'm going to go ahead and stick it in, and at that point I'll show you how it runs. Okay. That was a good guess. This thing's got a noise in there too. It had this before, and I would think that the starter clutch is rattling around in there. I don't know if that normally does it. If you Polaris guys know, let me know. I gotta tweak the slow screw a little bit more, but other than that, she's running pretty good. That's the only thing. And the slow screw, oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you that stuff because you need to know this to understand the levels that I have gone to make this work without having to spend $700 and something on a brand new Mikuni carb, which is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so you already knew I robbed the butterfly out of this one. I also robbed the slow screw. The kit I ordered from Partzilla is a all balls kit, and it's the picture and the list on the website, I'll put a picture in here of that as I'm talking, had a whole bunch of stuff listed on that kit that did not come in this kit. It had a slow screw, it had some other stuff, didn't have any of that crap. It was a bare bones kit. When I took the slow screw out of that one, you know, it's butchered obviously because it was so seized. Was gonna use one on hand that I had that's close, but this one was closer. So I used this one, got it about 2 turns out right now. I'm not sure if it needs to go in or out, richer or leaner. It sounds like it's loading down as it idles, so I would think that it's a little on the rich side. I'm going to turn it in about 1/8 of a turn. I think that'll do it. So I'm not even 100% sure that that's exactly right as far as the profile, the end of that tip goes. It is what it is when you got to put things together, but that diaphragm and the slide works perfect. This thing climbs right up when you get on it. Right now it has got stock jetting, 167.5 in the main and 42.5 in the slow. Those are jets that came in the aftermarket kit. Now I'll show you something over here that's pretty interesting. The jet that was in it, got on top of the pin gauge set here to show you, you know, it's a standard looking main jet compared to a couple others that come in the kit of different sizes, all right? So that's the correct jet, and as far as the replacements go. As far as the sizes go, I don't have pins that are big enough to measure that size of the jet that was in there, or the one that's in there now, the 167.5, because I wanted to take a look at it in comparison to the old one because I can't read the old one because it's so tore up. That little one with the shmoo on it is the 167.5. This bigger one, whichever one is bigger, that's the one that measures up for the one right here that came out of it. Which would equate to why the spark plug was darker than a you know, 2-headed coal miner. So I would say that this thing has definitely been running rich. So we dropped the needle down a little bit, one click on the needle on the E-clip, one step, and then we're at 167.5 and then 42.5 stock jetting. So she's running okay. I'll do some fine tuning. I still haven't figured out why the fuel supply is nil or nothing coming out of the fuel cock. I'll do all that off camera. Come back and report my findings. We'll finish this up and then close the video out. Okay, so we're finally back on the Sportsman 450, and I believe that it's done. I'll start it up here for you in a second. I have absolutely just been pulling my hair out though on this thing. I think I put a glimpse of it in the video number 1 on the Polaris. I was going to do a video or 2 on this, but I scrapped the idea. This is an absolute ginormous nightmare. I have had to do so much on this, in addition to the list, which had 6 or 7 things, like this custom front drum brake thing, where I had to machine all sorts of stuff to make this work. And I'm pretty much done with everything on the list, except for the fact that it won't run because the carburetors are pissing fuel. I was told this was a running engine. Of course, people always over-exaggerate. But this was not the case. Well, it sort of was. You know, you put an aftermarket junk carb on there and an aftermarket junk fuel pump, which is why we had to wait another week or so. because it's no good. It was starting to leak. It wouldn't pump. It's just no good. The aftermarket stuff is crap. I got it on the other side. I'll show you what it looks like. This stuff is junk, folks. This stuff is absolutely junk. You go on eBay or Amazon and pay $29 for a fuel pump or whatever the hell it costs. They don't work right. This thing is pissing fuel. I took it apart and checked all the seals. The gaskets don't line up right. It's absolute junk. If you want to do the job right the first time, you got to order the OEM. That's about $100 for this fuel pump up in here when you consider shipping and tax. But that's OEM, Japanese made, whatever the brand is, fuel pump, spec'd out for this particular Polaris. And I got a battery for it from the owner. I still got to stick that in. So let me do that off camera because I'm sick of jumping these things with dead batteries. Then we'll get that remedied and we'll give it a start again. Well, that wasn't fun. By the way, I got a brand new spark plug in because the other one's pretty trashed. There was no gasket on it. That's the interesting thing. This spark plug, whoops. This spark plug didn't have any gasket on it. It was removed, or I don't know where it went. I checked down in that hole with a mirror. So I just put one on from another spark plug temporarily before I got the new one in. I don't understand who would take a gasket off, like a crush gasket off a spark plug. I don't get it. But it wasn't in there, and now it's got a new spark plug with one. All right, so yeah, I got power without jumping it with a jumper pack. How amazing. No choke or anything. I don't know what the hell that clicking is. Sounds like the starter clutch rollers banging around. Got no idea. It's coming from right here. Runs really good. Like I said, that was no enricher, no nothing. Yeah, I'm gonna ship it. When it warms up, I think the slow mixture is just a skosh rich. But it's not exactly the right slow screw. And the more I play with it, the more, I don't really make any appreciable improvements, nor does it really get any worse. So we're gonna leave it right where it's at because it's running good, and I'd rather have that slightly on the rich side, just slightly, than on the cool side. And I'd rather, I just totally screwed that up. I don't know what I'm doing. I'd rather have that on the rich side than the lean side. What I said was the cool side. I don't know why I was thinking cool. So off camera, what I'll end up doing is just putting the seat on and taking it for a ride around the yard. Tomorrow, I don't have time today to do it. It's getting late in the day. I've been killing myself on this thing, which is an absolute ginormous junk pile. It needs to be set on fire outside, but I can't do that because it ain't mine. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy with it, and we're going to get rid of it and maybe get some room back in the workshop.